This year's sponsored the Nishmas, Zusha Borsi's grandmother, Hadassah Bas Noyach Naftali. Aleh Shalom. Neshama Salman Aliyah. And our Mishpacha should bring her much nachas and menucha tachas kanfei Shechina. This week was a pretty busy week in the Ayvam of Yartzeit. And earlier in the week, despite the fact that we celebrated the Yartzeit of Rebbe Zusha, Zeis Chanukah, Gimel Shvat Atavis, but it was even Zeis Chanukah was Beis Tavis.
No, we did a
Beis Tavis, right? So his Yartzeit was Beis Shvat. So his Yartzeit was only this week Beis Shvat. And so we have the Rebbe Zusha to talk about. And today, we saw Rabbeinu Yisrael ben Rabbeinu Masud Abu Chatzeir, the Baba Sali. And we have tonight the Yartzeit of the Sfas Emes, who was none other than Arav Yudai Leib of Gur. The I'll just say a shtickle I saw from the Rebbe Zusha in the sefer that I found, a leak from Rebbe Zusha, and that's a very interesting pshat. And this is really, if you look at a lot of his Torah and a lot of Torah B'chlal of what we're going to be talking about tonight, because this is really, this type of Torah is the site of all Chasidus. And that is as follows. Say the word of the Rebbe Zusha. We'll expound on it with the word from the Sfas Emes, and maybe we'll have Siyat Shmaya to Mechadish some his iris for all of us, some his chachas for all of us in this week. Parsha V'Chodesh Hazal Lechem. The meaning of his chachas comes from Parshas Boy. The pasuk in Tehillim says, David HaMelech says about, he's describing how HaKadosh Baruch Hu is every place. You can't run away from Hashem. He says, Im esak shamayim sham ata. If I go up to shamayim, you're there. Va'atzia sha'ol hineka. I go down to the sha'ol, I go down to the depths of the earth, or down to sha'ol, sha'ol tachtis is Gehenim. Hineka. There you are. So he's medayik that, what's the Tula Shyness of it? Im esak shamayim sham ata. You're there, and in the Sha'ol he's Hineka. Why is it when you go up to Shemaim it's Shamata, and in the Sha'ol it's Hineka? So he says as people have different ways of being Oved Hashem, and there are different tkufas in their lives where they're feeling different about themselves. There are times that they're flying high, they feel that their avoid is going so gishmak. I say Shemon Esrei and I blast off to the Kisei HaKavod, and I'm mamish, I'm nenemis of Ashchina. And I see Siyat Shema, everything I do, I buy a stock, it goes straight up. I go for a job interview, they offer me 3 positions above what I'm applying for. My kids come home with smiles on their faces and they get the acing on the tests, and my wife is in the best mood 24/7, right? And everything's great. I'm flying high in Shemayim, and I feel like I must be a huge static. I'm unbelievable. Everything's I'm learning, and the daf's going in, and my davening is going well. Zok the Rebbe Zusha. In Esek Shemaim, if you go up to Shemaim and you think, oh, I'm so close to Hashem, Hashem loves me. There are a lot of people they talk about, Hashem loves me. I prove it to you. I make so much money. Hashem loves me, right? If that's what you think, then Shamata. Then Hashem, He's there. He's not next to you. He's there. When you're feeling good about yourself, you're flying high, Hashem's far away. It's all your dimion. That's your fantasy. You're in fantasy land. The Yitzhar is going to make you feel like you're very high, and then he's going to pull the rug out, right? And before you know it, and you're not trained in any of the meetings they need to have in order to really have bitachon and to really stay connected. So Esek Shemayim Shamata. If you're flying high, Shamata, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He's there. When you wake up and you find yourself in Gehenim Tzubrachim, you don't know where to turn. Kadosh Baruch Hu doesn't seem to get, to cut me a break. I'm having a rough time with my job. I'm having a rough time with my shalom bayis. I'm having a rough time with the kids. I'm having a rough time with bayis stock. It goes down. I'm falling asleep at shear. Whatever it is, right? I get the flu. I get florona. What does Hashem want from me, right? Aber v'atziyah shal hineka. That's where Hashem is ready to embrace you. Kadosh Baruch Hu is embraced leiv nishba v'nitka elakim lo sivza, which is that when a person is in a matzav where he has to uncover his emunah, right? And what is emunah? Emunah is, right, when everything's going well. What's your emunah? Emunah is bemis, it's in your bank account, and your kaychavayis in yad. That's bemis what a person's emunah is when things are going well. Some coming say, well, I'm exercising, I'm so strong, I'm gonna live forever. Right? You see remember the guy bouncing up and down on the street corner. See these people they go for the morning jog and the light's red and they don't want to stop their exercise because they're going to be living forever with all this exercise and then bouncing up and down by the street corner. They're just like so full of energy, and you're looking at them like, really, if I could lift up my eyelid, I'd be happy. You're sitting here bouncing up and down on the street, right? That's not where Kadosh Baruch Hu is found. That's Kadosh Yadi. That's a person worshiping himself. Kadosh Baruch Hu is found by a broken person. There's no self to worship, and all of a sudden, what do you have? What does a mammon have? A yid has an unadulterated connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu. At that point, that's the lesson of B'Chal of what Chassidus was coming to bring to Klal Yisrael. You have to recognize where Chassidus was being brought. Where was it being sold? It wasn't being sold in the Upper West Side. Nowadays there's some hip people have their Chassidish, Shtiblach and all the grace of Chassidim, neo Chassidim. But Chassidus was for people that were sitting, the Amarats and the down and out, the people that were struggling, banging their heads on a siddur and on a Mishnah, on everything. And it was really to bring them up and to let them know this is lechatchila. You're exactly where you need to be, and you banging your head on aleph bays, right? And you breaking your teeth on mevarach hanoshim, right? And all the mistakes, all the funny mistakes that the Ma'aser bring out. This is exactly where you find your dveikus HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because you recognize that you're not flying high. They live in these bitter cold climates. Doing all sorts of physical labor and barely for supporting their families. And this was bringing them Yiddishkeit, bringing them dveikus, bringing them bitachon, and the greatest dveikus in these matzavim. This is Emes is that we talk about tzaddikim and the way the Ma'aris. So we talk about the Baba Sali today. He did tremendous nisim in the flies. Right? He didn't have to buy gas. He didn't have to buy arak. Right? he lived on a Kadosh Baruch Hu's tab. Right? So great. I'm saying it's interesting. Right? It's definitely great conversation. It's the wow factor, but what Emes do we have from tzaddikim that we really can more appreciate, other than the entertainment they give us with the nisim and the flies? So we can appreciate is that you look at a picture of a Baba Sali, and what do you see? You see a person who did not have hanof his entire life, literally, right? He was completely bought mevatel and gans in Olam Hazeh. And what did he have? He embraced the Kadosh Baruch Hu. He embraced Klal Yisrael. Like, what do you have for people coming to him all day with their problems? I just saw Ma'aser. Where did I see? I forgot where I saw it. There was a person who he was living in Yerushalayim in the 1940s, and he ended up being living in the house, an apartment with Reb Shlomka Zvila, the Zvila Rebbe. Shlomka Zvila was a Kaddish for Torah, and it's well known, how people would come to him with bakashas, and he would be part of Yeshua's. And one day this Bach comes to the house, and the Rebbe is sitting by his desk, and there's a pile of kitlach. And he wrote a little paper with people's bakashas on it, what their problems are, what their names to daven. And so he tells this Bach to come. You can sit down. You're going to read the kitlach tonight. And the Rebbe walks out. Right? So this bacher picks up the suckling into her first kvittel. Person, Yitzchak and Sarah. I have 3 daughters. They're between 25 and 35, and I don't have any money, and I'm not well. And he's like, he's reading, he's fainting, almost fainting. You know, he can't believe such a peckle in one person. Right? He's like, he takes a deep breath, he puts it to the side, he picks up the next one. And he looks at it, this person, they have this chanevach, this machala, and this tzara, and these chayvas, and their house is being foreclosed on, and the roof just fell in, and he's like, he's about to faint, you know, and he can't go on. A couple minutes later, the Rebbe comes in and says, you read the kvittel? He says, I'm fainting after reading 2 of them. You know, I'm saying, it's like, how you know. And the Rebbe says, you know, this is you know, this is what I have to go through every day. You know what I'm saying? I have to read them all, and I have to survive. You know what I'm saying? And this is the ibig gegebenkeit of a tzaddik. A tzaddik is they sit and they harv with klal. So they're they're literally makabel all klal Yisrael's tzaras, and they make it their own. And that's how they you know, create that's how they make Yeshuas happen. I talk with the Rebbe of Zusha. He was very old already, and he wasn't well. Someone came to him with a kvittel, and he said, "Sorry, I can't help you." And what do you mean you can't help me? You're the Rebbe of Zusha. So after the person left to explain to someone that was there, he says, "Why can't I help him?" He says, "Because I'm very old, I'm very sick, I'm very weak." He says, "How did I used to help people, right? A person would come, he has this tzara, right? He's suffering galore. What would I do? I would tell Hashem, give me his suffering. I'm going to take his suffering, put it on my cheshbon. And then I would take the suffering off this person. I would daven, right, for this person by taking away I would take all suffering, and then daven that Hashem should maybe take the suffering away from me." I forgot exactly what the cheshbon was, but he said, but the way it works wasn't that I just get up there and say a few words and it happens. I literally had to be makabel Christ for this person and take on all the suffering. And he says, I would fast for them. I would do all sorts of things to and there's mice with Chafetz Chaim similar to this. But this is what he says. Now I'm too old. I don't have the ability to take on. I could barely move. And this is what we learn from tzaddikim. Just look at a picture of Baba Sali, just like a person that's not an hazedek person. You look at yourself in the mirror. You're like, what's wrong with me? I'm just, you know, it's Adam behemoth Teshia Hashem. It's like you're almost behemoth copy tzaddikim like this. But you get the his iris to lower our pursuit of Bailam Hazeh and our she'ifas for some sort of, everyone has, you know, unless you really work on it, you naturally have tremendous she'ifas for the huge house, with of course the huge screen and the 4 cars in the driveway and all the covet of the fancy clothes that you're going to be wearing, and everybody's be, who's this guy with the Ferragamo belt and the Gucci shoes, you know. Oh, that's his house and that's his car, and even though we may not pursue this actively, but in the back of our minds, if you don't root it out, right, that's a natural she'ifus of a person to expand themselves in Ayim Hazeh. And tzaddikim, just by looking at them and just reminding themselves of the way they live their lives, of totally Ayim Hazeh is not for them, and it's really, what can we do for Kadosh Baruch Hu? What can we do for Klal Yisrael? This is I think the greatest inspiration, and I really think that the artists, when we take a little bit of their outlook and put it into our lives, so what we're doing really is we're living for them, and that's our connection to tzaddik. As tzaddik sees, oh, you're living with my outlook now, you know what I'm saying, and that brings the tzaddik back to life, because the tzaddik would give anything to have a little amunah. A tzaddik would give anything to be put in a matzah that's sitting by Zeveshchina. They would give anything to be put in Hester Panim, to be put in a matzah of Hester and just say, I don't care about all the Hester, I don't care about the Yisraelis, it's only you. That's the greatest avodah in this world. There's no greater avodah, right? A tzaddik sitting is being nenem Zeveshchina. So what? You know what I'm saying? Put me in the shol tachtis and let me say, Rebbe Hashem, I'm all yours. Right? I don't care about any of my nisyonis. I'm totally b'teichen you, despite the fact that this is difficult and I don't understand it. But I know, Rebbe Hashem, that you're there behind it, and that's the greatest avodah that he could possibly have. And this is what tzaddikim, they inspire us to do. And with this, we bring a tremendous chus to them, and a kasha to them, and avada with this chus that we're bringing to them. It's mizakas with tremendous siyata shmaya. Tonight's the Yartzeit is Sfas Emes. And so say over a couple shtickler from the Sfas Emes. Sfas Emes says over from his Zayda, the Chedush Harim, the famous shtickle we said it over in the past. It's not just a Chedush Harim that says it. Maral says it, and it's obvious, it's obvious that it's the cheshbon, but the Sfas Emes breaks it down for the Chedush Harim in his own signon, in his own angle on it, and he says like this: we have 10 makas in Mitzrayim. What's this inyan of 10 makas in Mitzrayim? So he says the 10 makas in Mitzrayim are connected asar mamar shebehem nivra ha'olam. Right, the world was created with 10 mamarim. Right, from Bereishis, we learned about this week in Gila. Right, Bereishis Nami Maimer. There's 9 Vayomers that are considered mamarim. And Bereishis Nami Maimer. Hashem created the world with his mamarim. The presence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he creates a world with the first ma'amar is by he are, right? So what are all the other ma'amar? What happens to all the other ma'amar? The entire world is full of this are, and the whole world is being built on the ma'amar rishon of Yehi are, right? Or the ma'amar shein of Yehi are. But the world be'emes in its unfiltered state, or I should say its undamaged state, right? Is Mole Mamar Makadosh Baruch Hu, Mole Makadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem's Yehi is apparent in the whole Bria. When the world starts falling apart, starts going to pot, people start doing Averis, right? All of a sudden the whole world gets a klipa on top of it, it gets covered, and Kadosh Baruch Hu's Kedusha is not apparent. Asar Makis is removing the Hester of the world, and every Makkah removes the Hester from one Maimer, and after you have Asar Makis, the Asar Mamaris are now shining. And this he explains that he says this is the idea that the Aseres Hadibris. He says this lashon that the Asar Mamarim are made into Aseres Hadibris. Okay, you have a mimer, right? By Brias Island, you have Vayomer. It comes to Dibris. When it comes to mitzvahs, right? It becomes Aseres Hadibris, right? And Torah is full of Vayidaber. Not generally mitzvahs are given over lashon Vayidaber. Okay, so this is he just brings down on one line from the Chedush Harim, the Eser Makos, remove the klipa of the Eser Mamaros, right? And now we're ready for Aseres Hadibros. Okay, so the Sfas Emes explains. He says that.
Will it go back to Amir?
Huh?
Will it go back to Amir?
Yeah, eventually. Okay. Eventually goes back to Amir. So we'll explain what Lanias Daiteno listens to say over Sfas Emes. You have to spend an hour preparing and not 5 minutes. But he says in one line, he says many chedushim in one shtickle. He says like this. He says that what is the lashon of Aseres Hadibros? What is the lashon of dibur? He says dibur is the lashon of being manig, right? Of leading, right? Like lashon daber echad ladar, right? There's one leader for the Chazal tells lo shnei dabar ladar. Okay, daber is the lashon of a leader, of being manig. By connecting, we could be manig all the teva through Torah, through ruchnius. He says. So he says that the pshat is that a person now, you have to live in Olam HaTeva. At the end of the day, for now, right? We're very much connected to Teva. We spoke about last week, right? Most of our avodah is Olam HaTeva, right? And we're constantly we have this resistance of the Olam HaTeva, right? But at the end of the day, once we have this gilui of Asar Makos and we have Aseres Hadibros, our whole hanhaga can be a hanhaga of Torah, despite the fact we're driving a car and we're going to work and we're doing all sorts of things. But ultimately, what's fueling everything, what's being minding us, what's directing us, ultimately, every decision ultimately is going to be made through Torah. And this is the inyan of Aseres Hadibros, that the Torah directs us in our pursuits, in our Olam Hazeh pursuits. Meaning, before the Eser Makos and the Gilui of the Asar Mamaros and Aseres Hadibros, there was no way to connect, to have Hanhag in this world that had connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything was just Nister. Now we have the ability that when we interact in Olam Hazeh, our entire Hanhag is really being propelled by Torah. And he says, this is the Pshat, he says, the pasuk says, "V'dibar tabam b'shiftcha v'yisechav lechtcha v'aderech." What's it? V'dibar tabam. Same lashon. V'dibar tabam is lashon hanhaga. You're sitting in your house, you're doing your work, you're walking on the road, you're doing all sorts of things in Olam Hazeh, right? You're going to sleep, you're getting up. V'dibar tabam, right? The Torah is propelling you. Everything is ultimately is propelling you. Meaning every decision you have to make. How are you going to do something in this Olam HaTeva? How am I going to get up? How am I going to wash Negavas first? Which foot am I going to stick out of the bed? How am I going to put on my pants? How am I going to put on my shirt? Etc. Right? All this is there's a hanhaga idea Torah. So v'dibar tabam b'shifts chavisecha. Torah is used to be manning us, right? To lead us in all our pursuits in Olam Hazeh. He says another interesting thing here. He says this is the we say Ma'ariv Asher b'dvaroi Ma'ariv Aravim. Right? He says, he says Asher b'dvaroi Ma'ariv Aravim. He says is even a person. This is getting to the Amunah idea. A person is always has resistance of Tava. Then there are times it's really dark, right? We say Asher b'dvaroi Ma'ariv Aravim, that with his hanhaga, which the hanhaga of Aseret Dibros, again, every time he says dibur, it's like a lashon of Aseret Dibros, that these dibros, the Torah propels us, it's manning us. So his lashon is, right, that we're going to have his direction of Torah even when things are totally dark. We don't feel the connection, right? Even when there's Erev and Hester, right, we're going to use his direction through, and he calls it, this is Amunah, okay? This is the Asher b'dvar Ma'ariv Aravim. And he says, this is the Pshat, he says that in Mitzrayim, the Lashon Azar is that the Dibur was in Galus. Right? Dibur in Galus is the ability for Klal Yisrael to be manning themselves in the Olam of Teva. And he says, and that's what they were prepared for now. Now Klal Yisrael gets Aseret Dibros, and they're able to be manning themselves al pi Torah. He says, I'm just going to put that, I saw a couple of shtips over here. He says, Moshe Rabbeinu is Emes, he is Lamala from this, like we spoke last week, right? Moshe Rabbeinu is Bechina Shabbos Kodesh. And Shabbos Kodesh is ultimately, there is not this stira of Teva and Ruchnius. You're supposed to be totally Ruchni on Shabbos. There isn't a Chaldim Misabri. No, there's no resistance of Gashmius in Bechina Moshe Rabbeinu. So Mela Moshe was saying, like ish dvarim anaychi, right? This isn't my avoda. My avoda isn't to be manig b'seich teva, right? I'm Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Yismach Moshe matnas chalkai, that he's a Shabbos Kodesh dika mensch, and Memela, he had a hard time, accepting upon himself this matziv of being the daber b'teich teva. He says, with this he's masber, and this is parsha Chodesh Hazel Lachem, right? HaKadosh Baruch Hu talks about Chodesh Hazel Lachem, Indian of his chachas. What's Indian of his chachas? He says Indian of Rosh Chodesh is being able to appreciate his chachas in Teva, because really Rosh Chodesh is Indian of his chachas, and through Rosh Chodesh you recognize HaKadosh Baruch Hu is B'chadish B'chol Yom Tamid Maaseh Bereishis. So even though it appears to be that we're lost, right, and we're finished, no. Rosh Chodesh tells us his chachas, HaKadosh Baruch Hu B'chadish B'chol Yom Tamid Maaseh Bereishis. It's not the same world now as it was a minute ago, so what do I have to start falling apart? The things didn't work out a minute ago. I have a totally new opportunity, a new bria of his chachas at this point. He says, that's the Indian of Rosh Chodesh, right? It's his chachas. Shabbos isn't Indian of his chachas. Shabbos is Kriya V'Kaim. It's the opposite of Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is something we make. We make this, we Zusha this is chachas. Shabbos is something that is a mitzvah. So Moshe Rabbeinu, who is B'chid of Shabbos Kodesh, it comes to Rosh Chodesh. Moshe is miskasha, right? With miskasha with this mitzvah of Kiddush HaChodesh. And he asked HaKadosh Baruch Hu, can you explain to what is this Indian his chachas? Isn't Avodas Hashem always being B'chid Shabbos Kodesh, right? So HaKadosh Baruch Hu told him, let me show you what it is. So he brings down Rashi, explains that Moshe Rabbeinu is niskashi. So Hashem showed him Levana Kazei Rei V'Kadesh. So Rashi Hashem only spoke to Moshe Rabbeinu by day, right? The Levani is visible at night. So how could HaKadosh Baruch Hu be showing Moshe Rabbeinu the Levani at night when HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't speak to Moshe Rabbeinu at night? Dr. Rashi, when he showed him, Samach Erev Bein Hashmashas. So he explains what is his inyan. He showed Moshe Rabbeinu the inyan of Bein Hashmashas, where things are unclear, right? It's light, it's dark, you don't know what's going on. He says, in this matziv, you may not recognize this matziv because you're a spaklaya hamiyira. Things are always light for you. You know what I'm saying? But this is a matziv of Rosh Chodesh, and this is where a yid thrives. A yid finds his emunah b'tach the schachas of Rosh Chodesh, and with this, a person recognizes that despite the fact things seemed dark a minute ago, I have the power of exercising my emunah and making a ganze schachas in my life. And we start to have the Isaias and all the tzaddikim that we get to meet. They're so kind to dedicate their lives and to be examples for us. And the person has to have to feel a tremendous hakar satayv to tzaddikim literally from my entire life that we could have Isaias from it. It's not just by chance we have Isaias from it. It's because that's something that they invested. They invested for us, and this is we have to have a hakar satayv to Kadosh Baruch Hu. That makes us tzaddikim. And we should talk about to be tzaddikim ourselves and be married to people around us and to be marbuk v'et shemayim.